Hey friends, and welcome to my channel. It is Dr. Shani here. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for being a part of this community. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate everybody. For all of my subscribers, thank you very much. Today I'm going to be talking about finances, and you might be like, girl, I need to hear about boundaries, or why we're not talking about this. But listen, you all, a big part of self-care and having emotional peace and wellness and just being whole is being financially stable. So, I like to tell you information. So I'm going to tell you what I do as a regular old college professor, okay? I am a social work professor if you are new to this channel. I am not a financial expert. I've been teaching at the collegiate level since 2007, okay? And over the last several years, okay, I've learned how to invest in the stock market in a simple, low-stress way. And I'm going to tell you everything that I do. And honestly, I wish someone had explained this to me sooner, because some of those purchases I made in my 30s probably would have just invested that money. So today I'm sharing what investing looks like for a regular, everyday, tenured associate professor who works at a public university. This is not about Wall Street. It's not about day trading, just quiet, steady preparation. So let me tell you a little bit about my backstory. As you know, I'm from the Mississippi Delta, and investing in the stock market was thing, I heard on TV growing up, but I was like, well, okay, one day I'll be able to do that. Technically, I have been investing in the stock market, but I honestly have not been really intentional about paying attention to, where this money was going. I would get my statements. I'm going to open my mail and read, but I really wasn't paying as close of attention I should have been paying it to. And some of that was caregiving, some of that was just moving through life, like, okay, I know we have this over here, so everything is working out for me. And so I had money going into the stock market, but I really didn't understand how that money was working for me. And so that's the little caveat there. Investing, as I've thought about it over the years, it really felt like something that was far off and unattainable for me. I remember when I was adjuncting, trying to get my Roth IRA, but I just didn't have enough money during those years of, grinding and being in school and hustling. So if you're at that point in your life where you're just like, I just don't have enough, $50 is hard to come by. I got, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I totally get it, because, life gets hard and it's difficult, and we just have to do the best we can. So this was only, my understanding of investing felt very limited, but this was only because I had not read up on it. I really wasn't paying attention. It's not something that's for them and not for me or not for you. It's something for everyone. And I would encourage you, if you got $20, got $15, you have $100 a month, make sure you are investing in your future, because that's what it's about. Legacy building, investing in your future. So that's my little spiel about not knowing really a lot about investing. You hear it, invest in the stock market, but no one is actually saying, hey, this is step 1, this is step 5. So I'm here to tell you what I do. So this is what my investing looks like in real life. And if you are reading anything on investing, people will tell you boring is the way to go. Okay, so first, I am employed. Thank you, Jesus, for a job. And so I automatically contribute to my 401ks. I have 2 because I have an older one. And so I contribute to those 401ks on a regular basis. I automate that money. So before that money comes in, it's already gone into my 401ks, okay? And so if you have employer matching at your job, which I hope you do, basically, if you don't take advantage of that, that's just like leaving free money on the table. And who's trying to leave free money around, right? No one. So whatever I contribute, my employer matches that, okay? So I make sure that I'm always taking advantage of the employer match, okay? And so those funds are invested in a mix of stocks and bonds. And because I'm in education, some of that is already predetermined for me, but I do look closely at how the money is going in, my contributions, and make sure that if I need to adjust anything, that I'm staying on top of that. And outside of my work or my employer, I keep it very simple with what I do. So I watched this gentleman named Ramit Sethi, and his book is titled I Will Teach You to Be Rich. So you may see him on YouTube, but look him up. So I started, you know, after mom and dad passed, started to, get more interested in finances because I was able to look at mom and dad's finances. I was their caregiver. And I was like, if mom had moved this here, if dad had moved this here, this would have looked like this and this could have looked like this over the many years they were retired. So I really became interested in learning more about money and really inspired by my parents and looking at how they really prepare. Planning was put in place, and I so appreciate that my dad did it, but also that my mom did it. So they both made plans. Meet Sethi was giving advice. He said to start investing, you need to open a brokerage account, or you can also invest through your IRA. So I opened up a brokerage account through Charles Schwab. Very simple process to do. Now there's Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. And so you can open up a brokerage account, but make sure you read the terms and see, what the conditions are for opening up that account. Some accounts want you to have a $3,000 minimum to open. For Schwab, I could have opened that brokerage account with $1. So I opened a brokerage account, and I also funded my brokerage account. Now the brokerage is basically holding your money, right? So whenever you want to in the stock market, that money comes from your brokerage account and it goes over into the stock market, and where you leave it there, and so it compounds and it gains all of that interest over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You can basically have money coming from your check, monthly check, into a brokerage account, and from the brokerage account you trade into basically stock market. And so what I invest in are low cost index funds through Charles Schwab. So basically the stock market is all the stock market. It just depends on which company you want to use. So you may say Fidelity, you may say Charles Schwab, you may say Vanguard. You decide. But all of these are basically, going to lead you to the same place. Okay. So the funds that I use, the low cost index funds, I use the Schwab S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies. This is an index fund, okay? So basically, those are all of the top 500 companies in the United States. But I also invest in the Schwab Total Stock Market Index Funds. So that's all of the companies that are available for me to invest in the stock market. So I use those two index funds. And so that contribution can be anywhere from $200 to $500. Okay, so it just depends on what I want to do. But again, keep in mind, those 401ks, a percentage of my check is automatically going there. And so this is in addition to. Okay, so these funds basically let me invest in the whole stock market instead of trying to pick individual stocks. I'm not trying to outperform the stock market, okay? That's just too much over my head. I don't trade. I don't guess. I don't chase trends. I just invest consistently and allow compounding interest to do the work for me. When I say trade, when you have to go in to actually make the purchase, they call it a trade. So you'll see that once you get into the brokerage account. But what I mean is I'm not switching and doing all of that, navigating across the stock market. I basically move my money from my brokerage account into the index fund and basically make that transaction occur, and they call it a trade. Okay, so the next thing is called my Roth IRA. Okay, and so a Roth IRA is an account that allows you to basically have tax-free money. So you're taxed earlier, but at the end, when you're trying to approach retirement, this money is compounding. So the interest compounds. So all of this money you've been saving and contributing after year, 7,500 after year, that money is gaining interest. And so when you get to retirement age, or when you're ready to utilize this money, it's tax-free. And so this year I'm working on maxing out my Roth IRA, and that total amount to contribute is $7,500. because the money grows tax free. So just think about it. Year after year, that's tax free money. So when the 44-year-old Shani, if God allows me to turn into, 55 or 59-year-old Shani, that's the pot of money available for me. And so let's talk about my debt and lifestyle. And this is important because sometimes people don't like to talk about their debt and stuff like that because it makes them uncomfortable. Just talking about money can make us feel very uncomfortable. But you have to understand, investing is not just about the here and now. It's about your future, securing your kids' future, and it's about leaving a legacy. So it's all about how you structure your life. It doesn't mean you can't have nice things now, but it's about making sure that if you buy something nice, you're also making an investment into the stock market. That's how I look at it. If I spend $300 on something I want, I'm also going to find $300 from somewhere else to make sure that equal amount is going into my brokerage account and it's going into an index fund. That's how I do it. It's like I'm just not going to be blowing some money without also making sure that I'm making an investment so that this money can compound. Okay? So I don't have a car note. I drive a car that is about 10 years old, but shortly before my mom passed, I got my engine rebuilt, but I don't have a car note. So thank God. And that car, it was pre-owned when I got it, and it had one previous owner, and it only had about 30,000 miles. So it was basically almost a brand new car. And here, 10 years later, I'm just now getting the engine repaired. I got the engine repaired, a brand new engine rebuilt. So I didn't want to buy a new car because I'm just like, a car note, it just doesn't make sense for me to have. I do have credit card debt, but it is not a lot. It is under like $5,000. And so I'm paying down small little credit cards. And once I pay them off, I'm using the snowball method. They'll be paid off. And because every dollar I free up can either eliminate debt or be reinvested, I make sure that I'm strategic about what I'm doing. That flexibility matters more to me than having the newest, latest things. And I do have a lot of new things. I do buy things. I also give tithes and stuff like that. That's important for me. I buy what I want, but I'm also very sensitive about how I'm allocating funds and things of that nature, if that makes sense. My mother had a philosophy: we aren't trying to keep up with the Joneses. So I didn't always have the brand name shoes. Jordans was not something that I wore. I'm just a basic old girl from Mississippi. Payless Shoe Source was our friend growing up, and so I just again say, I can see now the things that my parents were teaching me. My mother said to me one time, she said, I would much rather have $200 in my bank account than $200 or $300 purse. You see what I'm saying? So she was all about like being frugal and like living within her means, but also she enjoyed her life. She enjoyed retirement. She tried to make sure things were in place for my dad and helped him in a lot of areas with pension and all this stuff. So my mother was a good financial steward, and mom and dad, they really didn't have any debt. And so that's a blessing. And also the VA was helpful. So I can talk about that a little bit later. But what's the emotional meaning of investing? Investing is not about becoming rich. I'm interested in wealth building, okay, legacy building. And so it's about being prepared. It's about options. It's about not feeling stuck. Like, for example, if ever there comes a point where I want to say, you know what, I'm ready to transition jobs, which I'm not. I like my job. Then it's about having that freedom to move around. And so I've always been a person who plans. Anybody who knows me knows I'm about to plan. And so honestly, learning about investing feels like a new hobby for me. Now that my caregiving journey came to an end, my parents went on to go to glory to be with Christ. This is like something new. This is a hobby. It's like learning about this and reading this book, and so interesting. Or I didn't know that. So that's all they were doing. You think of these people. And so it makes you look a little bit differently, just at finances and a lot of the consumerism that I see on social media. Not judging nobody, but I'm just saying, I look at when somebody's saying they're paying $25,000 for a Balenciaga purse, I'm like, ooh, if that compounded interest, boy, $25,000 into total stock market, you know how much money that would be in 20 years. That's kind of how I think about it now. So based on the things that I have been doing, and like I said, passively investing, not really paying attention, to God be the glory, because I was doing so much with caregiving. The results have been positive for me, but more than anything, I'm very intentional now about paying attention to what's going on with the stock market, what's going on more so with my money. Who am I paying? What's the fees? I'm paying attention to all of that. So for those of us who are like first generation anything, a lot of first generation professionals feel like the stock market is something that other people do. Like, that's for them, that's not for me. But guess what? I'm here to tell you it is for you. And it is very simple to do. It is as easy as opening almost up an email or transferring money from your checkings account to your savings account and pressing submit. That's about as easy as investing. That's just how the process really is. So again, a lot of us who are first gen, we feel like it's something that other people do, or I don't have $3,000. I don't have $500. You don't even need that much. You can start with $20. You can start with $10. You don't need thousands of dollars to start, but you can start with $50 or $100. You just need knowledge and consistency. So I also look at investing in the stock market as legacy building, okay? So I think about it as preparation for my life now and preparation for my life later, okay? Because we have to really start thinking about this. I talk about real estate, trust planning. Just this past weekend, I was going over, my life insurance policies and stuff. I'm always trying to pay attention to that. Maybe because I'm still somewhat in caregiving mode, but those things are important. But I think of investing as legacy building. Our grandparents and parents worked so hard, and I'm so grateful that my parents and my Aunt Constance were able to enjoy retirement. But I do have some relatives who still work, and I'm looking at them like, why are y'all still working? I don't know the reason for that, but I really think, well, if we as family members could have conversations, honestly, come together, get on a Zoom and do like, the 1%ers do, and start talking about legacy and family building and investing in the stock market. Some of our seniors, our grandmamas and aunts and uncles and parents, they could go home and sit down, And so many of our elders, the grandparents and parents, they worked nonstop until they could not physically work anymore. And if you ever paid attention to when people retire, a lot of times, as soon as people retire, boom, heart attack or stroke. And they don't even get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So I learned from my parents, like, no, you're going to enjoy the fruits of your labor and take care of your health while you can, And so that's the mindset that I have now. Many people are working until they are 80 years old. And boy, they probably have the money right there in their accounts, but they don't know about investing. I'm not an early investor. Some people start investing, or their parents set up accounts for them when they were 9 and 10, 15, 20 years. And so they've been investing for all these years. That's not my reality, okay? But I do know that I have been contributing, and I do see impact of even just getting started. So when I again think about this investing, it feels like I'm saying to my grandparents, to my parents, your sacrifices were not wasted. I'm building on what you started. So I want to tell you that there are so many free resources available to you. I watch YouTube channels. I use Schwab's YouTube channel, Fidelity. They have educational tools that are available to you. All you gotta do is just get on YouTube. They will tell you how to open up a brokerage account, how to make your first trade, every single thing. And I do read books. The 2 books that I have read, one was Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And so he just talks about, like, how to get out of this rat race of thinking about investing as something that other people do, and really how to make your money work for you. So I started with Ramit Sethi's book, and he was encouraging, open a brokerage account. This is what you do. And that sort of set me on this path. And like I said, I had already been passively investing, but I really wasn't paying attention. And then the book that I'm reading now is J.L. Collins' The Simple Path to Wealth. And he uses Vanguard, but he talks a lot about just investing doesn't have to be complicated. It's just simple. Can you do it? Can you not get all emotional and volatile when you see your money dips a little bit today and then it goes back up? Can you not have an emotional response? I mean, you're going to be emotional, but can you see the bigger picture? And so I like The Simple Path to Wealth. I'm reading that book at night, and just anything else that I feel is going to be helpful to me. Financial Feminist is also a book. I think it's very helpful, and I like how Tori frames the beginning of that book, because she talks about women of color, Black women, not having access a lot of times to these resources and people being historically shut out. So I like how she frames that book. So I'm always just reading to learn and to just educate myself. And what I found out is that investing is not something that is hard. It's just that everyone has not had the same access to this information. So if you've ever been nervous about starting, this is your sign. You are worthy of stability. You're worthy of financial peace. And you don't have to be wealthy to begin. You just have to get started. So thank you for listening to this video. I hope you found it to be helpful. And if you want more quiet wealth conversations from an everyday professor, subscribe and we will keep learning together. I'll probably update you all in about 3 months on what I'm reading, what I'm doing, if anything else has changed. But again, thank you so much for paying attention. And I hope that you get started with investing today. And I hope that this video has made you feel more comfortable about taking that leap. Take care. And it's so good to see you all and to know that you're doing well despite this worldwide snowstorm. Take care. Be safe. Bye.